Hey, Achievers, I'm really glad to introduce to you Tania Diggory today. She's an entrepreneur, she's a mental health well-being speaker, host of the Take Regular Breaks podcast, and she has a community called Calmer Professionals. And you can see why we love collaborating with each other because healthy high achievers, calmer professionals, it's kind of the same thing, right? People who are very busy, who are all over the place in a million projects, busy jobs, and really want to feel more calm, really want to feel more healthy, which is why we often do these things together. And I thought, Tania, you're a mindfulness teacher, you're an NLP practitioner, a mental health trainer, all of that. If there's anyone that I really wanted to interview around training our brain to improve focus, it's definitely you. So I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, so I often hear clients say that, and I'm sure you get that a lot, that they feel scattered, they feel all over the place, not able to focus. Where do you feel from your experience that that feeling is really coming from for them?
So, I think if we're talking about entrepreneurs, freelancers, people who are, working for themselves, it can come from a sort of self expectation or what we see from other people. And I think it perhaps doesn't help that we're living in a very digitally switched on world, like 24/7. There are absolutely benefits to that. I'm not saying it doesn't help in general, but it's just specifically when you're talking about, being very switched on and feeling like you need to do all the time. You can see whether it's on social media or what people are saying that they're doing, or that hustle mentality, that can drive people to build up a whole host of self expectations that they should be doing things. And then it's that repetitive narrative of should, and I should do more, I should do this. And I think even just replacing that word with could can be very powerful. If you shift that to say I could do this, it shows you have choice. It's not that you're placing guilt on yourself and saying this is something you need to do, because who's telling you to do that, right?
Yeah.
And to be fair, it's, especially in the entrepreneur world, and working for yourself, you have to be highly self-motivated to get things done. So of course it's important to be driven with what you're doing, but it's also about finding that balance and being mindful of that self-talk, which I'm sure is a lot of things that you cover as well with your
Yeah.
community.
Yeah, and I love that how you talk about balancing that drive, kind of, right? You need that drive and that fire inside of you to really get things done. But then for some reason, when we're high achievers or when we're professionals, we kind of beat ourselves up almost, or kind of we're so hard on ourselves. And do
Oh
you
yeah.
think that that social media aspect, the digital world, also gives that social pressure in there because you see other people being busy all the time?
Yeah, I could do. And also seeing people, sharing even the like great stuff that they're doing or stuff they're doing on weekends and things, and feeling the want and the need to be doing more like nice things for yourself, but feeling so overworked and overwhelmed with the things that you need to do and feeling that pressure. So I think it's not it's quite a complex, issue. And if you're talking about professionals in the space of working within companies as well, the work culture plays a big part into how people feel or what they feel they should be doing, like what their manager relationship is like, what their relationships like with their colleagues, their teams, what the president's is like, what is set in terms of expectations in any workforce, plays a part a lot of the time in terms of how people feel and whether they feel that they need to be doing a lot of the time. One of my favorite phrases is we're human beings, not human doings. We're not created to just be doing
Yeah.
all the time like robots. You know what I mean? We're not made like machines. We're human. We need time to recharge, reflect, reassess how things are going. So, yeah, it's a journey. It's not easy as well, to tap into that space of self reflection.
Yeah, to be that human being, not the human doing. I love that one. And I can definitely relate how I feel right now in Peru. For me, it's way easier to just go with the flow, to do nothing, to be more and do less. But I can definitely relate when I'm in Belgium, I automatically absorb kind of that mentality of the culture of people when I felt guilty when I wasn't working 9 to 5, right? Just running my own company. If in the afternoon I felt a bit like I couldn't concentrate, I couldn't focus, I felt guilty about that because I was like, no, I need to work until 5 p.m., right?
Mm, yeah, right. And that's what I love about what you're doing. You're saying healthy high achievers, because that message is that it's great to want to achieve and to have that drive and ambition, but it's also that self-care aspect that's so important, right? And I think it's interesting what you're saying about the comparison between Peru and Belgium. And I think typically the westernized parts of the world do tend to have a very switched on mentality and achieve, 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 and go, to the point where we can end up being really stressed out and lose sight of what's really important and meaningful.
Yeah, yeah, that's an important one because I do feel when we're so focused on our day-to-day jobs, our tasks, our schedule, then we kind of lose sight of what really matters or what's truly important to us because
Mm.
we want to feel good about being productive all the time, right? And you as
Yeah.
a mental health expert, I must say, how do you feel that's really affecting the fact that we're all over the place and scattered and want to be productive all the time? And not being able to focus, how do you feel it's affecting our mental health?
Well, it's a difficult one, especially considering the last year that we've had, because so many people are having, different experiences, and there's the sort of scattered mind in the sense of feeling like you haven't done enough or haven't had the opportunity or been in the position to do what you wanted to do. And some people have felt completely overworked and managing workloads of like their colleagues and things like that as well. So it's been such a tumultuous time. And no doubt about it that it's affected everyone's mental health in some ways, in different ways, in the sense that we're all human and we all have ups and downs, and it's not been an easy year. But it's that, I think, that constant striving and there being a lack of balance, I would say, will put anyone to the limit. It will test our limits, because we're not designed to be stressed out human beings. And it worries me when I hear people say things like, oh yeah, I'm really stressed, but everyone's stressed, aren't they?
Yeah,
And just accepting it, like normalizing just being really stressed out. And we need to be careful we don't just accept and start hooking onto that narrative, and remember that we do have a choice at the end of the day. So I think everyone has their limit, but everyone's limits are different, right? So if there isn't that sense of balance, and you are feeling like you're just striving and feeling overworked and overwhelmed, but just keeping going, like remember that your body will send you signals to pay attention to, whether it's a headache, whether it's a stomach ache, whether it's muscle tension, whether it's breathlessness. Like there are so many things that we can feel quite exhausted in or tired in our bodies. And it's that sending a signal to pay attention that, you're pushing yourself right now, and you can keep going and then find out where your limit is, but it might not be so fun when you get there. But
yeah,
sometimes that's how we learn as well. So
yeah, and I know you really help people with burnout prevention as well, and that's the exact issue I feel there right there because the body's giving signals, but they're like, oh, everyone's stressed, everyone's overworked, I can do this, I can push through. And it's kind of when I tell my high achievers that they need to live in their bodies and not in their schedules, that's the thing, right? Your body's telling you that it's too much. And I love what you say there. I feel like when you're mentioning that, okay, people are stressed, but everyone's stressed. I have the same issue when I work with clients who are chronically fatigued, for example. And I had that same feeling myself in my experience that I was like, everyone's tired. So you don't really take it seriously because you kind of, the energy is out there. You feel like, oh, everyone's tired, so this is
yeah,
normal. Instead
this
of
is
kind
not.
of living in your body, in yourself, and listening to your, like you say, your own limits, because everyone has different limits.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose it's asking yourself this question, like, do I want to accept this? Like, is this something I really just want to accept, or is there another choice that I have? And I always find that a helpful, tip or a takeaway, in the sense of, okay, well, if I am feeling really stressed, then like, what can I do about it? Like, it's one thing to say, oh, we shouldn't be like just accepting being stressed out human beings. So if you think about the flip side, okay, what can we do about that? Is
Yeah,
reminding yourself what's in your control. So asking those questions, having a bit of time to reflect here and there. And I know this complements a lot of the work that you do as well with your community. But that idea of, being productive doesn't mean working all hours of the day. Actually, there's an abundance of research nowadays that shows that, working less hours and feeling more switched on, feeling, like you've got good quality sleep, you're eating well, you're exercising well, all those things actually helps you to get more done. So it doesn't mean that you're more productive if you're working more hours. It's about quality rather than quantity. So ask yourself those questions every now and then. If you're feeling overworked, like, what's in my control right now? What choices do I have? Like, do I have to accept this way of being, or can I choose something else?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I feel like, in this conversation we're having, I wanted to ask you one simple tip that people
Mm,
can implement or tool to focus more, feel more calm. But I feel like this conversation is already jam-packed with really cool tips and tools. Because it's true. It's when you ask yourself, okay, how can I really take better care of my body and my mind to really be
mm,
productive the hours that I, not the quantity of hours, but really the
yeah,
quality. If you only work 4 hours, you can do the same thing that you would do in 8 hours just in 4 hours. If you really have a focused mind, if you really have a
mm,
healthy body, right?
yeah.
And that's the secret right there, I think, because people feel guilty when they don't work 8 hours. And I get the feeling. And I
Yeah.
recently had a client who was like, yeah, but I want to do yoga and meditation, but then I want to go for a walk after lunch, but then I don't work that many hours. And we were kind of working through, okay, so in what way does that meditation and that walk actually, in what way is that also productive, being productive,
Mm,
right?
mm,
How does
yeah.
that help you? And then she said, oh, yeah, when I don't meditate in the morning, actually, I don't really work that well. I don't focus that well. So, yeah, I guess it is productive.
Yeah, 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 for sure. And I suppose another takeaway then that's just come to mind from what you've said is that idea of self-care is a question you can ask yourself, or remind yourself about. Is It's more of a statement, actually. So when you're feeling that guilt, or you feel like, oh, I should be doing this, or maybe I need to be doing that, and just remind yourself that, like, taking time for self-care is a selfless act. It's not selfish. It doesn't mean like, oh, then I'm not able to, be there for others or do what I need to do. Because by taking the time that you need, whether it's 10, 15 minutes here and there, or half an hour or more where you can, to go for a walk, to do something nice for yourself, to breathe and meditate, and do something, whatever it is. There's different things for different people, that just taps into that idea of well-being and looking after yourself. Not only are you then in a better position to be at your best for yourself, but you're in a better position to be at your best for others around you, for your work, for all those responsibilities that you have. Because if you're feeling constantly stressed out, then that will have an impact on the quality and the output of your work and the things that you do. So that's
Yeah.
also potentially a little takeaway about the idea of self-care being selfless.
Yeah, and then I think about that focus when you say the way you are around others. I also feel that when people are stressed and then they go to social activities, but actually they're really tired and they don't want to go, they want to cancel, then they go anyway, and then you don't fully show up for the people that you really love, right? So you're just there feeling scattered and you're thinking about other things, you're distracted, and it's not easy to really listen to what the people you love are telling you, because you can't bring that calmness, you can't bring that presence that you
Mm,
can bring when you really start taking care of yourself. And that
mm,
very first takeaway you gave, I want to highlight that one because I love it when you said, instead of saying I should or I have to, that you say, okay, I could. And
mm,
what I often did, I switch it to I want to, because I
mm.
want to work, I want to build my business, I want to take care of myself, I want to. In the end, you don't need to do anything in life, right? If you just want to lie on the couch and just breathe and not earn any money and just, not eat, whatever, you can do anything. You don't need to do anything in the end, because
Mm,
it's not obligatory. We're just living our lives. We're just living with ourselves in the end, and we're just creating a life that we enjoy
mm.
in the way that we want, right?
Absolutely. It's that navigating choice again, like you said just then about, well, do you have to do this? Do you have to do that? It's assessing what choices you have and what's going to serve you best at that time.
Yeah, so I love it. I think my healthy high achievers really have a couple of key tips and tools, kind of things to think about as well, to improve that focus, to also know that when you start mm, giving more attention to that self-care, right? That morning routine or just these mini tiny habits that can help you feel more calm. It will
Mm,
help you feel more focused, more calm during your work, more efficient, more productive, and you'll feel that 8 hours, you don't even need 8 hours to do everything you want to do, right?
Yeah.
So many people feel like 24 hours in a day is not enough. But when you start taking good care of yourself, you'll see that, okay, actually, I have a lot of time in a day because my brain is more active, my body is more active.
So I suppose start by taking care of your sleep, right? So that you
Yeah,
can wake up feeling refreshed and have a broader perspective on things. Because I mean, you know, when our sleep's affected, it can really affect how productive we feel, how motivated we feel, can skew our perspective the next day, our cognitive functions aren't operating at their optimal, you know, optimal best. So starting with just small steps, you know, so think, how is my sleep? And then, you know, go from there. And then that will help you feel in a better place, perhaps, you know, when you wake up and feel more refreshed.
absolutely, absolutely. That's why I think when, if, especially when people are kind of being hard on themselves or overthinking, they're not sleeping well, but when they're not sleeping well, they're feeling even more stressed. So to break
Mm,
that cycle, it's really that combination we work on, right, in Healthy High Achievers to improve sleep, to work
mm,
on your connection with yourself, to create a structure in your days, to kind of have all those pieces of the puzzle, because it
yeah,
all affects everything. Everything affects everything,
yeah,
and you need to
definitely.
tackle the problem from all angles. So
Yeah, for
thank you
sure.
so much, Tanya. This was so refreshing. So I love how you talk about this topic, and I encourage everyone to check out Calmer Professionals, because it's, the website is thisiscalmer, right? .com,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's just full of resources, interesting articles. I love reading your newsletters as well. So to just be that professional, but in a calm, balanced way, to really prevent burnout, to prevent living outside of yourself in your schedule, instead of, to learn how to really listen to your body. That's really key.
absolutely. Thank you so much for all your support, Mira. And it's been a pleasure to be here to support you and your community. So I hope our conversation today has sparked some more inspiration and ideas for you all. Thank you very much.
I'm sure of that. Thank you so much, Tanya. See ya.
Take care.